artists. Ever since we've been back at school, we've all been working so hard, and I find that art helps me relax so much. So our art lesson this week is going to help us relax. I find that coloring in coloring books, coloring mandalas and different coloring books is really relaxing. In fact, this one's called Coloring for Tranquility because it makes you feel tranquil. But it's funny because I notice most of my coloring books are blank pages, and that's because I like to make my own designs to color in. So we're going to work on that today. And I call it Zen Doodling because, well, Zen means meditation, and doodling is randomly drawing starting from a point and using shapes and lines to create a design. So we're going to mix those two and relax as we're creating new things today. And it's for anyone of any age. You can use any materials you want. I like to use darker colors to start, like a dark crayon or pencil or marker, and then that way you can color in with lighter colors later. But it'll be up to you as the artist. And I hope you find this lesson as relaxing as I do. So grab a pencil or a pen and let's get zen. Okay, students, so I mentioned that I've been doodling since I was a kid, and these are just some doodles, kind of Zen doodles I found just lying around in my little art space. As I was looking at this one, I thought, was I brokenhearted? I was trying to figure out how I felt when I did this one because it's really interesting. I found this one too, which it's a lot of doodling, and then it looks like I painted watercolors for the background. This one is unfinished, so I'm excited that I found it because I can't wait to work on it. But you can see in the different hearts, there's different patterns and shapes, making the drawing more interesting, and then adding those colors. So there's so many different ways you might doodle or make art to relax. So I'm just going to show you some ideas now of how you might get started. A scribble drawing before, this would be something great to try at first because all you need to do is scribble. And we've just been learning about different lines in some of our lessons. So you can use any kind of line you want. And all you're going to do is decide and scribble on the paper. So I'm using some wavy lines right now, and you're not really thinking about what you're doing, you're just doing it. Now I have this scribble. The cool thing about a scribble drawing is after you've scribbled on the paper, you can go back in and find different spaces and color them in. So the idea to make your scribble drawing really interesting is to color each space in a different color. Maybe you pick a couple colors, or maybe you use lots of colors. But this is a great way to start doodling and just relax while you're making art. I used like curvy lines I noticed in this, but you could also make a scribble with some of the other lines we've been learning about. Maybe it's more of a zigzag kind of scribble like this. Or what other kinds of lines? Let's see, what about these loopy, wavy lines? That could be a good way to scribble. So try it out and then try coloring in some of those spaces. The drawing usually comes out really cool. So for older students, or if you've done a scribble drawing already and you want to try something new, no matter what grade or age you are, I would love to see you try a Zen doodle. So it's called Zen Doodling just because you feel zenned out while you're doing it. Oh, and before I show you, I just was noticing in my notebook that I'm reading notes from now, I've done a lot of doodling. So while I was writing notes down, I've just made all sorts of stuff. Even on these notes, oh, where is it? Well, this one, I remember making this, and I just started with that tiny circle in the middle and just kept building off of it until I got this. So let me show you how you might start a Zen doodle. And usually I tell artists to start a lot of projects in pencil because that way if you make a mistake, you can erase it and go back. But the cool thing about this project is there are no mistakes. You're just going to kind of go for it, and the way it comes out is the way it comes out. So you're not really thinking even too much about what you're doing. You're just going for it. You can start anywhere on the paper, but if you start in the middle, you have more room to branch out. And you're going to be working with a lot of patterns and repetition, so that means you're using the same lines and shapes most likely over and over. So you might start with a square in the middle, a circle, any shape you want, even a triangle. I'm going to go with a circle because I like to build off of it in that way. So after I draw my circle, I might decide, Okay, maybe I'll make another circle around it, or maybe you might start building off your circle with different shapes, something like this. Maybe you would have picked a triangle shape. You might pick way different shapes than I'm picking right now. Speaking of triangles, maybe for the next layer, I'll start to add some of these shapes. And as you can see, I'm doodling, but I'm just kind of going for it. I'm not thinking about too much what I'm doing. I'm doing it, and I'm repeating a lot of the shapes and lines. Maybe I'll add some straight lines here. You can make your design as intricate as you want. I think I'm going to just keep going. I like to fill the whole page, but you can also think about how leaving space is a design in itself. So now I have that circle. Maybe I'll do another layer of loops. So I'm just going to keep going, keep doodling. And you're not necessarily doing what I'm doing. This is just an idea of how you might get started. So, I didn't get to fit that last loop. I didn't use a pencil, so I'm not going to erase and fix it. This is part of my doodle, and it's what makes it more interesting. So now I'm going to go back and add a shape within a shape. Shapes that have shapes within them or around them are called concentric shapes. And last week's lesson showed a famous painting by Kandinsky. A lot of artists also use lines and shapes to express their emotions. So the doodle I showed you at first, I felt like maybe I was feeling angry or heartbroken, but this time I feel like my doodle kind of feels soft and happy, and that is interesting because I am feeling soft and happy. And remember all the shapes and lines that you've worked with in the past. Where can you use a dotted line maybe? What other shapes might you add to your doodle? So I'm going to stop here because I really like the way it looks right now, and I do want to add some color to this doodle. Before I add my color, though, I'm going to add my artist signature. So as I've mentioned before, a lot of artists sign their names in the bottom corner, usually the right-hand corner. But you're the artist. You can sign your name wherever you like, but I like to sign my name in the lower right-hand corner. So I'll write my full name this time. There's my signature. After you've created your doodle, you can leave it as is and maybe use whatever pen you were using to maybe go back and color in some parts. So maybe I color in some parts of it. Or you might pick some different colors to add into your doodle. I can actually fix that to make it a little more even. So something that you might want to do later, it's almost like coloring in a coloring book. So you can go back and you can start adding colors, and you might think about making patterns with the colors. I mean, it will be interesting to look at it later and try to imagine how you might have been feeling when you made the doodle. What kind of lines and shapes did you use? Do they seem calming? Do they seem really excited? So it's kind of fun to look at your artwork and imagine and think about how you were feeling when you made it. And does it match the actual drawing? Does it look like that feeling in some way? We'll be exploring more about this idea in art class this year. So have fun with this, artist, and I can't wait to see what you've come up with.